Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Huge show today. Really big show today. We're covering Wicked for Good. The Universal's Wicked sequel is out, starring Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Yeoh, Jonathan Bailey. If you know, you're an adult. You probably are aware that Wicked for Good is out. It's kind of a big deal, but we have seen it. We're here to tell you whether or not it's true that it's maybe not as good as the first one, right? People have been saying it's got problems. I'm excited to get into it. We're going to talk about it. Spoiler-free review to come. We're going to take a look at Train Dreams, this Netflix indie that is getting a lot of awards buzz, at least on film Twitter. We watched it. We're excited to talk about it. Stick around for the Train Dreams review. That movie is beautiful and life-affirming and soulful and inspired and kind of devastating. It's a really cool movie. Stick around for the review. We got to talk about some upcoming trailers for films that are coming down the pipe. We got The Moment, Hoppers, How to Make a Killing. Gus Van Sant's new movie Dead Man's Wire has a trailer out starring Bill Skarsgård. We're talking about some TV, some quick touches on The Chair Company, I Love LA, Welcome to Derry, Pluribus over on Apple TV Plus has a new episode out. We're excited to talk about that. Again, no spoilers there. We're not about that here. Before we get to everything, again, action-packed show this week. Some good movie news, surprisingly good movie news for the week. Normally, it can be tough to find stories, but not this week. Starting with Variety here. Wicked sequels are being figured out at Universal Pictures. Things are underway to see, quote, how we can continue in this universe. After a bang-up weekend at the box office, it seems Universal wants to stay in the land of Oz, and they want ticket purchasers to be there too. What do you know about this, Andy?
What cracked me up about this article was that they say we owe it to the fans
Yeah.
to continue this story. And I was like, even we owe it to our bank accounts to continue this story. The most well-known part of this is Wicked, the musical, and not anything past this. And I learned from this article from Variety, there are 8 books. And I knew there were like 4, and I thought there was, maybe he did like 3 or 4 of these books, and it's a continuing story. I kind of thought they were kind of almost like an anthology series taking place in Oz, but it's like a continuous thing. He most recently came out with a book this year, which was like a prequel of young Elphaba growing up, and he's got another book next year of young Glinda, depending on what she is at that point, which is insane. And I mean, this man is just milking and printing money. That's Greg McGuire, who's the author of the original novel, which was then, of course, turned into the famous musical. There's not really, I think, a lot there. And also, his books are very, very adult. Like, they deal with very mature subject matter about, like, the terrorism of the individual versus the terrorism of the state. Like, it's very political in nature. It's not, like, kid-friendly anyways, but it's a huge hit, so they're gonna maybe do a TV series, maybe do more film. Who knows?
It's so funny that Wicked for Good, I know I just said we're not going to talk spoilers on the show. We're not. I don't want to spoil Wicked for Good if you haven't seen the musical or the movie or whatever. But there is a bit of a feeling of farewell at the end of it because it's a 2-film project, and Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are belting, man. They're singing their hearts out. It's really, it's moving. It's great. We'll talk about it here in a second. But it feels like a bit of a farewell to the audience. And I was sitting in the theater thinking while I was watching it, dude, these movies have made combined over $1 billion at the box office. There is not a world where we are not getting more of Oz and the Wicked universe. So it kind of seems like a layup that they would just immediately kind of come out a week or 2 after the movie comes out and be like, hey, we're making more. I think you're on it. TV series. Make a Wicked TV series, right? Call it Oz or Wicked or whatever you want to call it. Probably make it a prequel, right? Like, give us 3 or 4 characters that we kind of follow around the land of Oz. One of them has got to be a Munchkin. One of them's got to look like Ella Purnell from Fallout. Maybe one of them like looks like Walton Gott. Just make Fallout. Make Fallout in Wicked. That's what you need to make.
Yeah,
it'll be 8 episodes. And also worth mentioning, like, Universal has a lot invested in Wicked. Combined, they spent over $550 million to make these 2 movies, which is an insane couple of budgets for 2 features, right? Even splitting that, it's nuts. They built all these sets. They got all this stuff. Why not reuse it, right? Why not trot that out again and repurpose it and use some of those costumes? Like, it makes sense. I just hope it's not, like, creatively bankrupt. You know what I mean? I hope they actually put some good into whatever their next project is, and it's not just, like, lame.
I think we're going to see this project get just driven into the ground. And we're seeing this thing that people have written about before, that everything nowadays is the book, the movie, the series, the book, the movie, the TV series. We saw this with Dune. We're going to see this with the Conjuring films. They're going to do a TV series of that as well. They're doing it with Wicked. And part of the reason is actors get real expensive when something is successful. Like in the 5th and 6th and 10th year of a franchise, those actors are asking for a top dollar. And the way to get around that, which the Conjuring is doing, is like, oh, we'll just do a prequel series and recast with young unknown actors. And then you don't got to pay them as much, and you can kind of you don't have to worry with aging and things like that. So I think we're probably going to get something like that. It'll be like Wicked, Elphaba Origins, Wicked, Return to Oz, so, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and with like 7 more books to pull content from, like plenty of fertile seedbed, to tell stories in. I love this bit Variety's got, like, unconfirmed whether or not Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo will return. They won't. Just let me get that out in front. They're not going to be in whatever this is. They're absolutely not going to do it. Like, they got a huge bag from this. Cynthia Erivo is sick of putting on green makeup and prosthetic ears. Ariana Grande seems to kind of be moving away from music. Like, she seems to be kind of making it clear that she really just wants to kind of stick to acting and do more stuff like that. Like, I don't see her doing another one of these projects for a minute. I'll tell you who you can get in these. Who you can get? Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum. They will get the bag for sure. They will continue turning out for whatever Wicked has going on. And if it's some kind of prequel thing, you can probably work it out, right? You can have the wizards show up, or I don't know. I don't know. We got to move off Wicked. But yeah, of course, Universal is going to make more. Again, hopefully it's thoughtful projects and not something lame, but we'll see. Speaking of actors who are getting paid, dude, Scarlett Johansson's going to be in the new Exorcist movie. This is a weird announcement. This is an odd one, but ScarJo did Jurassic World Rebirth and got a big bag for that, and she's supposed to do a couple more films in that series, so like, why not, right? Hit another franchise, step into horror. What do you know about this?
Scarlett Bag Hansen is what I'm going to start saying. So interesting thing with the rights to The Exorcist, they were bought by Blumhouse several years ago, and they tried to do a reboot. They were going to do a trilogy of films, starting with Exorcist Believer, which was terrible and a huge flop. They immediately stopped any production on a second and or third film. They're essentially rebooting things again. It's going to not be a sequel, but somewhere in the world of The Exorcist from, of course, the 1973, not William Peter Blatty, that's the author, William Friedkin classic. I think this is an exciting move. Scarlett Johansson is in that place in her career. She's in her 40s now, where she's looking to get paid. She's said very openly, she's like, I got kids to put through college, so she's looking for good money makers. I think this is a smart move. We don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about plot details. We just know it's Mike Flanagan, who of course made Dr. Sleep, which we love, Gerald's Game. So I think it's in good hands. It'll be real interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, the Hollywood machine has a lot of problems, and it leaves a lot of people, I think, disaffected. People who've been movie stars for a long time can end up getting on the other side of an Oscar or something and having a big dip in their career. This especially goes doubly for women in Hollywood, who often, historically, will have a few big movies and then quickly drop off. As soon as they get too expensive or maybe a little too old and some new young talent comes around, Hollywood immediately jumps on them. We see this with the rise of new young talent like Sydney Sweeney. But ScarJo is very uniquely positioned, right? Like, she can do franchise films and command huge budgets. Like, her work with Disney and Black Widow has created this avenue for her to take big stuff, and she should. What the hell? Get the bag. Like, I totally see that. And personally, I'm excited to see her do a little bit of horror. I think that can be cool. I'm really excited to see a Mike Flanagan Exorcist film. After that last Exorcist movie, like you said, they were going to do a trilogy. One kind of bombed. It seemed like the whole thing had fallen flat on its face. But then you whip out the guy who did Dr. Sleep at Midnight Mass and Haunting on Hill House, and suddenly it's like, oh, hey, this will probably be a thoughtful meditation a la William Peter Blatty, right? And what he was trying to get at when he made these earlier projects. I'm hoping for something a bit more like Exorcist 3, right? Like different and weird and departure from the previous. It's a perfect time because the last movie was not that good. You're bringing in ScarJo. She's got a lot of talent on the front. Do something weird. Make something weird in Exorcist and make something different. Don't just do a girl getting possessed. And I think you got a winner. Like, I think they might have a formula for success. Like a phoenix from the ashes, The Exorcist might be coming around thanks to Mike Flanagan and Scarlett Johansson.
you got to make it about something. That's what people miss about the first Exorcist film. Like, yes, it's scary because of the possession and the makeup and all that stuff. But one of the things it's about the problem of evil, and how no matter how ancient mankind is or how long we're around, we're still going to have to deal with this problem of human evil, possibly supernatural evil, even in a modern world. And so that's a really interesting idea from the very first film, and it's like you got to have something. You can't just have a scary person in makeup doing a weird voice. You got to have some substance under there.
Yeah. Do we know when this Exorcist movie is supposed to be coming?
It's years away.
Okay. All right. It's going to be a minute, folks. No, don't hold your breath, but hey, something to look forward to, especially if you're a horror fan. So this next story is a funny one because Andy and I both infamously are not on Letterboxd, which is a very popular film logging service online, kind of like a film diary where you log movies you've seen on a social media profile and say what you think and leave a little review and rate it 1 to 5 stars and pick your 4 favorites. If you listen to this podcast, you probably know what Letterboxd is, but Andy and I don't use it, which is weird because we watch a lot of movies and you'd think we would. I've tried in the past. I just don't seem to have enough of like a community on there. It just feels like I'm just speaking into the wind. You know what I mean? I leave a review on Letterboxd and nothing happens. It's like, cool. I don't know. Like I get that on Twitter, but at least I get a little bit more attention over there, and attention's important to me. But all that to say, Letterboxd is launching a new video store service where now allegedly you can kind of rent movies through Letterboxd, which I think is maybe a brilliant add to the service. Being able to watch films and then log them on one place would be amazing. What do you know about this, Andy?
I always say that I don't have Letterboxd because we have our own Letterboxd, which is this show. We do an entire show talking movie reviews, so I don't need to log them elsewhere when I'm limited by character stuff and that. Yeah, I tried using Letterboxd before and I haven't just stuck with it very long. So the idea is that, how is this going to stand out from like Amazon or Netflix or anywhere that you can rent films from? And the idea is to kind of be more curated and also be more in the moments. Like everyone, something like Superman comes out and that's the movie everyone's talking about. And so as soon as it's available to rent, that it will more reflect what's in like the public talking space or in the film talking space. Also festival favorites as soon as they're available, because festival films can be a hard time to get a hold of or to see or know when they're available. So it's supposed to be a little bit maybe more highbrow. It's not going to be like the top 5 are going to be all Marvel films or anything like that. So it's going to be an interesting strategy entering into the VOD market. I wonder how it's going to do.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the selection and kind of the service, how it works. Regarding the selection, yeah, it seems like a lot of people are really excited by like festival favorites. I don't think that means you're going to be able to see the new hot movie Film Twitter is talking about. It probably means a bunch of like smaller festival favorites. There's a lot of festivals out there. There's a lot of film festivals. A lot of small entries. Yeah. And like, I think that stuff might be easy to get. I doubt it's going to be like big stuff, but we don't know for sure. We also don't know really price, assumedly competitive VOD rental prices, right? I don't think this is a streaming membership. It seems to be described as a video rental service. The idea that you would rent one at a time. So I don't know. We don't know yet. But again, like the implementation is kind of brilliant. Like if I get a notification on my phone that my friend just logged a movie on Letterboxd, I can read the review and I can hit a button and immediately start playing the whole feature. That would be great. I could watch stuff in the evening if I like see something my friends like. Like being able to watch films through Letterboxd sounds like a really great ad, and you guys should continue doing that, I think. Do you think this would get you to start using Letterboxd, Andy? Maybe bring a couple of wayward non-users over?
Not really. I don't think it's going to be. Oh, I'll have to see what the selection's like. If it's like, oh, this thing that just came out at Sundance, you can only see here first. Maybe we'll have to see what the pricing is, because PVOD is usually pricey and more in like the $15 to $20 range. Yeah.
I don't know. Keep it here for more. We'll tell you when we know more about it. Netflix is maybe getting into this Warner Brothers acquisition space. I should preface this better. For those who don't know, Warner Brothers historic film studio is putting itself up for sale. And we haven't talked about it much in the pod because it hadn't really gone through and wasn't really official, but now it seems to be. And they're taking bids from a few major competitors, namely Paramount, Netflix, and I forget the other one. Not Universal. Though I wish Universal maybe would. But they're taking bids to be bought out, and all of their content and all of their movies and all of their film history, which is so much of Hollywood, would be bought out too. And it's kind of a bummer. It's like there's no good winners here, but allegedly Netflix says were they to get the Warner Brothers library, they'd be willing to play ball by putting Warner Brothers currently released or currently upcoming slate into theaters as expected. Netflix historically does not want to put stuff in theaters, but they said if we get the Warner Brothers movies, we'll do it. This is what they're saying. What do you know about Andy?
So Comcast is the other one that's looking at to possibly buy Warner Brothers. So all the devil is in the details here. Netflix has famously never supported the theatrical model. That Ted Sarandos, the CEO of Netflix, has often said, like, theatrical is over. Theaters are over. People want to stay home. They want to watch stuff on their couch. They don't want to go out. Theaters are dying. They're going to be dead in 10, 20 years. He has said this a lot. He's like, we are not putting things in theaters. Like, because the other streamers, Amazon, Apple, have committed to theatrical releases. Apple did that with F1 this summer, giving it a good 6 weeks in theaters before going to other services. And Netflix has famously resisted doing anything like that. They do the bare minimum 2-week release that you have to have in order to get considered for the Oscars. Outside of that, they just don't do it. And while they say they would honor existing theatrical obligations, there's nothing that says that they would be committed to that long term, and they could, as soon as they have Warner Brothers, they could just break deals or just not renew deals. So I would be very wary of this kind of language from Netflix.
Yeah, let me be clear. Of the three here, I definitely don't want Paramount to get Warner Brothers. I don't think Paramount should do Warner Brothers. Paramount's been greenlighting a lot of projects, working with a lot of controversial creators lately that I often don't agree with. But Netflix at least feels like they might be a little bit more, I don't know. Yeah, it's like the enemy of my enemy kind of situation. Like, it's not. There's no winners here. It sucks that Warner Brothers is putting itself up for sale. I don't know what's going to come of it, but what I do know is exactly what Andy said. Netflix in no way has to honor this in any meaningful fashion. They could just say, "Oh yeah, for 2026." Maybe most of Warner Brothers movies will go to theaters, but after that, they're all coming straight to Netflix. Ted Sarandos is infamously, historically very anti-theater. To his detriment. Like, it hurts them come award season. Netflix has problems getting nominations for Oscars, which of course they find very valuable. But when it comes to actually going to distributors and putting butts in seats, suddenly they have a problem with it. Just earlier today, a story we're not covering here officially, James Cameron had a clip go live on Twitter of him on some podcast, probably much like ours, talking about how Netflix seems to lure in artists like Scorsese and Rian Johnson and David Fincher and Guillermo del Toro with lucrative first picture deals, but then their budgets start to get cut, and suddenly, oh, your movie's not going to AMC or Cinemark, not getting theatrical distribution, and these artists are like left in a lurch, and you end up with like Guillermo del Toro and Rian Johnson on Twitter begging people to go see their movies in theaters and saying like, yeah, I'm really sorry it's not going to AMC, but please try to go see it anyway. Rian Johnson's pinned tweet on his profile right now is where you can go see Wake Up Dead Man, which is nuts because we live in a Metroplex and there's like 4 theaters here in the whole freaking Metroplex that are running it. Sorry. The point is, like, Netflix ends up cornering people by saying we're going to do it this way, and then once they get their hands on it, not doing it. So historically, yeah, dude, this is kind of bunk. I don't think this holds water.
No, I don't think either, and it's going to be bad because Warner Brothers is getting bought no matter who it's by. That's why the company was split. That's why they've invested in a lot of certain like shows and TV and properties to make them more appealing. So someone is going to buy them. It would be unfortunate if it's Netflix. It's unfortunate if it's Paramount as well. Disney got into the mix. They don't have enough money to buy them, but they were criticizing Warner Brothers for splitting its business because they split like the movie and TV business from like the sports and reality TV stuff. So it would be easier to make this sale. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Apparently, this deal is supposed to happen by the end of the year. It will take probably a year or two to finish certifying and authorizing the entire thing to where you will actually start seeing properties made by the new ownership. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it sure is. One more story this week. Big news week, like I said. We just got the last one. We're wrapping up the box office numbers, which were pretty freaking large, by the way, because of one film called Wicked for Good that we're just about to talk about. Andy, tell people how much money this damn movie made.
It's crazy. Opened 147 million domestic, 223 million globally. One of the biggest openings of the year, third biggest, only behind Lilo and Stitch and the Minecraft movie. And it opened even bigger than the first one, which opened domestically to about 110 million. So it's done almost 40 million more than that. It's a hit. We know that. What's going to be interesting to see how much its legs does it have, because you don't get to like 700 million, a billion without a lot of repeat viewings. And some fans are saying it doesn't quite have the repeatability that the first one did, but yet to be seen. Huge amount. It's crazy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation on the Big Picture podcast, Ringerverse, which Andy turned me on to, Sean Fantasy and Amanda Dobbins. They were talking about whether or not Wicked 2 will make more money than Wicked 1. And it's weird. Like, sometimes in sequels that happens. Lord of the Rings infamously made more money each iteration over, not including the Hobbit films. But Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King, those each did better. I think Star Wars did better growing. I don't know if this one's going to do better. And I think it's just because of word of mouth. I started hearing a few weeks ago that Wicked Part 2 doesn't have any good songs. And I was like, what do you mean? Wicked Part 1 has a ton of good songs. And I've seen the movie and it's like, okay, there definitely aren't as many good songs in Wicked Part 2. I see that. Like, it gets a little complicated, plot's a little messy. It seems like maybe traditional theatrical fans aren't as into it. But then again, it made $150 million in the U.S. in the opening weekend, which is just bonkers numbers. I know it's a holiday weekend, but dude, that's so much money.
I saw kids dressed up in like 6-year-olds in costume going to this, and I was just like, it's massive when that's happening. For the rest of the box office, in second place came Now You See Me, Now You Don't, the third film in that series, 9.1 million for the weekend, 146 million globally. Big hit for that series. Someone called it's like the Marvelification of like these magic movies that have been around for about more than 10 years now.
Illusions, Michael.
Yeah, interesting. Predator Badlands came in third, 6.2 million, 159 million globally. That's a series best. Predator Badlands continues to make really good money for that series. The Running Man came in fourth, 5.8 million, 48 million globally. It's doing better than it's on it, but it was an expensive movie, $110 million movie. You got to clear at least 200 million to probably get into profit territory. And then fifth place was the opening of Rental Family, the Brendan Fraser film, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the show, just a little bit.
Yeah. We're going to touch on that movie shortly. I'm already thinking of funny Running Man headlines, like running out of gas or running in fourth or something, but running away from success. I don't know. It is what it is, man. I guess I wish Brendan Fraser's movie was doing better, and I don't much care for the Magic movie. I don't much care for Now You See Me, the other Magic movie at the box office is doing well this weekend, next to Wicked, of course. But, to each their own. Overall, pretty good Thanksgiving weekend, I think, going into the holiday. Like, I know we've got a little bit more going on next weekend, but even still, I don't know. We got to talk about Wicked. Shoot, we got to move on. Any other thoughts in box office before we jump into it, Andy?
I'm ready to go.
Perfect. Well, Andy's taking the summary on this first one. So, Andy, please take it away.
Wicked for Good. So this is the follow-up to last year's 2024's huge hit, Wicked. Part 2, this is the second half of the musical, starring, of course, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande is our leads. The first film finishes with Elphaba embracing her witch powers and being exiled from the capital of Oz and area. It's kind of unclear what happens. Ariana Grande and company go to work for the Oz government. I think it's actually a little unclear, and it's unclear as it goes into as it goes into the second film. It's not any more clear. We have a time jump of about 5 years, and Elphaba is still exiled, and she's fighting to free the animal still and expose the wizard for his lies. We catch up with Glinda and Fiyero, who are working for the Oz government. In some capacity, it's not real clear she's just kind of a figurehead. Glinda is she's supposed to be charming and happy. The wizard is still kind of behind the scenes. Madame Morrible, played by Michelle Yeoh, is also trying to still oppress the animals. It's again, narratively, this is a whole mess, but it almost doesn't matter. That's not where you're here. You're not here for the political intricacies of Oz. You are here for songs and dance and a spectacular show with spectacular leads, and that is what we get. And there's lots to talk about here. A lot of things work, some don't. Zach, what do you think?
So I think it's important to explain before we get too far into this where we're coming from on Wicked. I had not seen the musical. I hadn't read the books. I'd seen Wizard of Oz. I saw the first movie last year when it came out in theaters and was generally warm on it. I feel like a lot of people were really harsh. They said the color's terrible and the lighting's awful and it's I don't know, it's messy. And like, I hear all that. It's too long. It shouldn't be 2 parts. Totally. But ultimately, like Andy said, I'm not here for the politics. I'm not here for the complicated. I'm here to have a great time and eat my popcorn and listen to Ariana Grande belt it and listen to Cynthia Erivo get after it and like, solid. Had a fine time with Wicked Part 1. But then Wicked Part 2 starts coming out this year, and people start saying Wicked Part 2 has no good songs, and Wicked Part 2 is complicated and messy. And I was like, what do you mean? And let me tell you, like, there's a lot of truth to a lot of that, I think. Like Wicked Part 2, I don't think is as strong as Wicked Part 1. I think the songs aren't as good. I think it is overly complicated. You know, the original play is, 2.5 hours? The 2 films combined are like 4.5. So you got to add a lot in there. And like, I don't know if what's added here is enhancing and helping. I know each girl gets their own new song. They each get a new original one. They had like the original writer, I think, come back and pen those. But like, as somebody who hasn't seen the original, that doesn't mean a lot to me. It just feels bloated and it's got problems and it just gets chunky. Let's get into it. We should get into it. What did you think of it?
So it's definitely an experience movie. I heard on a podcast, like, it's not good, but it's fun. Like, it's fun to go, like, especially if like your kids or your friends are into it, you're going to see your favorite characters, you're going to be songs, you're back in Oz. So it's fun. It just narratively, like, really doesn't make any sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. It's just unclear what our characters are doing. Like, I know Elphaba is trying to free the animals, but it's like, how, like, what is it? It reminded me of a lot of political movements that don't really have a lot of direction or like what actionable steps. And same thing with the I was like, I don't know who the antagonist is. Is it Madame Morrible? Is it the wizard? Is it Glinda because she's on that side now? It's but again, your 6-year-old isn't going to care about any of that. We do get extra songs. Both Glinda and Elphaba get their own solo song, like Zach said. So it's just kind of, there's these set pieces, and they kind of work individually. They just don't all work together. But we have these beats of like, these are our good guys. Here's the bad guy. We have a wedding between Fiyero and Glinda. That's a big event where lots of things are going to happen. But our characters are kind of spread apart throughout the whole movie. In the first one, they're all in school, and so they all interact a lot. In this one, they're all kind of spread out throughout Oz, and so you kind of have to force, it's like Game of Thrones, you had to force reasons for them to be together. But it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So if you're there for the songs and all that, I think you'll probably have a better experience than if you're trying to like figure out the plot.
Yeah, let's talk performances. You said right at the top, like in the first film, our characters are mostly together. Everybody's like at school and growing together. And so they're forced to kind of bounce off each other, and that's how they develop a friendship and grow, especially Elphaba and Glinda, Erivo and Grande's characters, who have this like beautiful blooming friendship over the course of the first film. And like it genuinely is a pain that this movie opens and they're not hanging out. You're like, it's like this big like empty spot in the movie, because you get a little bit of Glinda like at the palace doing politics stuff, I guess. Yeah, doing like Game of Thrones. Like, I got to get one over on Madame Morrible, and I got to go talk to the wizard and I got to convince Fiyero. Like, it's like this coercion stuff. And meanwhile, Elphaba is like poverty Batman. She's like swinging on munchkins, working on the yellow brick road, and like she's got gadgets and shit, and like a tripwire. She like throws at him and a smoke bomb, and she's flying in, and like she flees back to her like hovel, living in a tree, doing magic. And It's odd, and it's oddly placed because there's this like jump in time. But then it starts to get together and get on track, and really like finds its way. I said we should talk about characters in here. I'm just talking about plot. It really does find its way, I think, in Act 2. It starts to slot into a lot of familiar spaces. You start to get a bit more of the Wizard of Oz kind of creeping into the movie without giving too much away. But then like Act 3 has to clumsily tie all of these big narrative threads back into where the Wizard of Oz goes, and like it hurts this big runtime and this big blockbuster and this big epic. It reminds me of Game of Thrones in the way that like David Benioff and DB Weiss had made 8 seasons of that show, and then it had to end the way George R. R. Martin wrote it years ago. So everything has to tie back into this like squeezed into a mold, get it back to where it's supposed to go, and it hurts it. It doesn't work, and you leave characters like out at the end of the movie. People are confused. Their motivations are messy.
We see Bowen Yang like twice in Act 1. Never comes back in that.
Shame.
A little bit.
Shame.
Yeah. So somehow, and the person that wins the Game of Thrones in Oz, it's just like, I'm not sure how this happened. I'm not sure how like the winner won. And there's also a weird messaging of like, well, someone has to be the bad guy so the good guys can be the good guys. So it's okay to have a scapegoat. And I'm like, what are we telling people with this? And if you don't know, the original novel by Greg Maguire is a very political thing. Like I said, it's examining like violence. Like Elphaba is a terrorist; she literally blows up a building, but then like Oz, it has this Gestapo like police that kills people. Like Fiyero dies in like the first third of the book. He's beaten to death. It's very violent. That's why people are like, don't get your kids the book. It's not that kind of book. The musical and the film are not concerned with any of that, any larger kind of political or philosophical things. It's more, unfortunately, it's supposed to be more about their friendship, and they're just not together very much. Like you don't have enough scenes of Elphaba and Glinda together, fighting, bickering, making up, being friends, and like. But they do have really touching scenes eventually, but just kind of doesn't really feel earned, and it's just like, what are we doing? And again, the Wizard of Oz stuff is real odd. I know from the novel, it references like Dorothy and stuff very loosely, but it's not really supposed to be like intertwined in the same universe. It's supposed to be like, the Wizard of Oz and characters. Imagine this other story in that world, but the movie tries to tie it in directly, and it's real clumsy.
Yeah. Chu overcommits on the Wizard of Oz stuff. He said in the past that he's a big fan of the original film. Makes sense. He's doing this one, sure. But like it seems like he really wanted to leave a mark on it and like leave a legacy on it. And I think it kind of hurts Wicked. Like I think this is its own thing, and it can be its own thing, and it doesn't have to exist under the weight of the original film, and trying to like get around it by like shooting Dorothy in silhouette, and like, the shoes are silver and not ruby. It's just clunky, like, and it just kind of hurts it. And it's like, you didn't need this stuff. It's probably in the play, right? Which comes from the book and is derivative. And I see all that, but it just ends up like opening up a lot of avenues for questions from the audience. Like, why can't the animals talk anymore? And like, why who is the bad guy exactly, like, and what exactly is Madame Morrible's motivation? Like, all that stuff gets kind of lost in the sauce because you're not really swept up in the adventure like you are in part 1 when they're like going to school and figuring it out. Like, I don't know, like, it's just part 1 feels so much more open-ended. Let's talk performances really quick. I don't think anybody was surprised. This was shot back to back with part 1, so much like part 1, Erivo and Grande are tremendous. They are both fantastic. I have no complaints about either of them. Jonathan Bailey's a lot of fun back as Fiyero doing his thing. We've got Ethan Slater, Broadway SpongeBob, as Buck. We've got Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible. Jeff Goldblum as the kooky wizard, who kind of fits. Really, I think out of place a little bit of Michelle Yeoh still, right? She just kind of can't sing, which is a problem, but she doesn't have a lot of singing in part 2, which is good. Glinda and Erivo get their own new tracks. Those are sick. What do you think? Performances?
Ethan Slater has a couple of great speeches. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to give anything away about his character, but he kind of has like a little bit of a Shakespeare moment. Give it a real great speech. There's been a lot of awards talk about this, and I'm curious to see how it will go, because I actually felt like the performances were good, but they also just didn't have a lot of time. Again, there's so many people in the movie, and they're not together, so you're always just jumping from person to person. I kind of felt like we didn't get enough Glinda or enough Elphaba. So it's interesting to see what the Academy will think about it, if they'll think of both of these movies as one large performance or what. So it'll be interesting. Also, Coleman Domingo is the Cowardly Lion. I think he has a whole 2 lines in the film.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh dude, stunt casting. Yeah, like that could have been anybody, honestly. Like it's just, you just pick Coleman Domingo because you knew he'd stunt on the red carpet, which he always does. Yeah, awards, I think production design, right, costume design, makeup and hairstyling. You're probably looking at some obvious noms. Wicked Part 1 won for editing, which is nuts. Like I didn't know that doing research for this, and I don't think this would get that, but I think Ariana Grande's probably got a real shot at Best Supporting Actress this year, because the Supporting Actress category is a little, I don't want to say thin, but kind of broad. Like meanwhile, like Cynthia Erivo at Best Actress might get a nom, but like I don't think she's winning, dude. Like it's the Best Actress this year is insane. You got Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Emma Stone for Begonia, which is a weird one. Tiana Taylor, right? Like, yeah, dude, One Battle. I don't know. I guess Chase Infinity would be best actor. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how much gas it's got at awards, but regarding the music, I know I already said it. I don't think it's as good as the first. I don't. Like the first one has like 5 songs I can hum off the top of my head. Like I only saw that movie once in theaters. It's just immediately memorable. Part 2's got like 2, right? Like No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, and the last one, Because I Knew You. Like those are pretty good. Otherwise, like I don't know. How about you? You're a music man, Andy. What'd you think?
So after the first one came out, and I was not a fan of the original musical. It was just like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, back in 2003, and I couldn't stand it. I really fell in love with the soundtrack of the first film after it came out, after seeing it. Played it on loop for the longest time. I will not be adding the soundtrack to our big film playlist. It's fine. It just doesn't have the sauce. It's also recycling a ton of the music from the first film, or the first half of the musical as well. So you're not really getting a lot of things that are new. So it was just kind of fine.
Yeah. Any other thoughts for recommendations? I feel like people know what we're going to say about it, but
real quick, I wanted to mention, for some reason, it kind of starts like a Marvel movie. Like it's almost like a superhero thing with Elphaba. Yeah. She's like flying around and like being poverty Batman. Like
she's Elphaba Batman. Like yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a superhero movie for like about 5 minutes in the opening. Real odd choice there.
Yeah, very strange. Also, really interesting final shot that I've been thinking about a lot. I won't give it away. Maybe I'll talk to you about it off the pod. Or if you've seen the movie and you have thoughts, write in, comment, whatever. Like we can talk about it. Like, but think about the final shot of Wicked Part 2. It's very specific. It's very intentional. Jon M talked about it in an interview, actually, about hiding it from Universal because he thought he'd make them cut it. I don't know. It's just something to it. But either way, Andy, I got to know, would you recommend Wicked for Good?
I'd recommend it for the fans. If you're a fan of the original musical, or especially if you saw and liked Wicked Part 1, definitely for you, you're going to have a good time. It's more about the experience of the movie, less about like the plot and narrative. If you're not a fan of musicals, if you didn't see the first one, probably skip it. If you're a little unsure, maybe wait for streaming. But this is definitely for the fans. It is kid friendly. Saw lots of kids there in costumes. So if you need something over the holidays, it's an option as well.
Yeah, I think it's fine. If you saw the first one and you want to know where it's going, like go check out Wicked for Good. But it really, I think, only works as a sequel. Like if you watched it by itself, you would be confused and not understand what's going on. You would need to watch Part 1 to get into Part 2. And even then, as a sequel, I don't think it's as good. Like I think the first one's better. I think it echoes the play in that way. Part 1 seems to be better than Part 2. I don't know. I'm going to say Wicked for Good. It's kind low-key kind of a pass, honestly. It's kind of a pass for me. But if you saw the first one, you liked it, obviously go see it. Wrap it up. See it once. Have seen it. Go see it on a big screen if you can. Yeah, Wicked for Good. Dude, we got trailers to talk about. Action-packed episode this week. What do we call this segment, Andy?
It's time for the trailer park. So we got 4 trailers this afternoon. We're going to start off with The Moment, which is a new film, not by, but starring pop star Charlie XCX. She announced this about a month ago, had a short teaser for it. We got a full trailer for it. And it's kind of this autobiographical mockumentary thing. It's about the life and times of a rising pop star, which is exactly what she is. But the trailer is in very much, it's her, but it's also very much tongue in cheek. Like it's not biographical. We see all these funny things, like she's looking at an old music video and everyone's like, "Who's that? Your face is different." It's like, talking about her plastic surgeries, or there's a part where she's backstage and they're like, they see this big dummy crash down on the stage and they're like, she's like, "Is that supposed to be me?" in the rigging. They're like, "Yeah, but don't worry, that won't happen in the show." So it's this real kind of tongue in cheek thing. Lots of flashing lights. I'm a big fan. I'm interested to see what this is all about.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what The Moment is all about. I worry it is maybe landing in this space that a lot of projects from music artists are right now, cinematic projects. Like I'm thinking of like The Weeknd's movie, what is that, Wake Up Tomorrow with Jenna Ortega, that kind of didn't go anywhere. Or Donald Glover tried to do Bando Stone in the New World, which did not, maybe was a joke movie. Like they put out a trailer like that was going to be a real thing and then never talked about it ever again. His tour ended up getting sidetracked because he had health issues. Even still, like, so that artist kind of said he was doing a cinematic thing and it didn't work out. And then The Weeknd says he's going to do a thing and it didn't work out. Obviously there's not Charlie XCX, but I do think that there is kind of a press into this for musical artists to say, hey, I kind of want to dabble in film. We just talked about Ariana Grande in Wicked. Taylor Swift has been doing stuff. That being said, I think a lot of those aren't very impactful. And I hope that this is. I hope that this is something like a bit more, I don't know, like efforted and concentrated. I'm not sure what exactly it is because it seems to be kind of a mockumentary. I don't know a lot about Charlie XCX. Might be a good entryway into her work, like as somebody who has only ever heard her or maybe heard her on like the Wuthering Heights soundtrack, which I'm kind of looking forward to. So yeah, that's The Moment. I don't know. Basically, I don't know what to think. I hope it's good. That's all that to say. Yeah, I hope it's cool. I don't know.
I was going to say that she recently came out with a Substack, and she wrote this piece about what it's like being a pop star and how it's just really odd because there's a lot of, the glamour stuff that you see, like fancy hotels, planes, and like you get to perform for thousands of people. But then there's lots of just odd stuff of when you're like a high like profile celebrity, like you're stuck in lots of like tiny rooms with no windows for long, like when you're waiting to go on stage, and then you get you go and perform for 100,000 people, and then you're shoved into a black SUV and you don't see the light. And so it's just, I feel like the movie is kind of going to be about that. Like there's the glamour, and then there's just like the real weird stuff of being that level of famous.
Yeah. Well, see, that I can get into. That does sound intellectual and cool. All right, I'm into that. All right, I hope The Moment's rad. We'll cover it on the show if it is. We're going to talk about the trailer for Hoppers. This is Pixar's new trailer from Disney Pixar, of course. Hoppers is a new original work from Pixar, rare nowadays in the age of sequels, about a young girl who has a fancy for science and discovers in a local science lab that some local scientists have engineered a mechanical beaver that she can transplant her consciousness from her body into this mechanical beaver to look and walk and talk and act like a real beaver. And upon doing so, she discovers that she can hear and communicate with the local wildlife and animals of the forest, at which time it seems the bug population decides that they are going to uprise against humans and squish them like they've been squished for so many years. So it's up to her to bridge the gap between humans and animals and bugs and bring us all together into some kind of cohesive something. Pixar movies are often aimed at adults, even though they're kind of clad in like childlike shape. At least the originals are. I'm looking at something like Soul, or maybe even Turning Red, young adults specifically. I don't know who Hoppers is aimed at, because the teaser already made a joke like they're ripping off Avatar, another Disney project, and this just looks kind of fine. What do you think, Andy?
It's so over, man, for Pixar. I think it really is. Like, with their originals, this looks just real plain and bland in a lot of ways. Like, the story is fine. Yeah, it looks like it's basically Avatar for beavers, but also
Beavatar.
nothing about it make it like looks interesting. Like Pixar used to be known for just building incredible worlds. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, like the kind of worlds they would build, not just the characters and story. And the Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer came out last week, and that looks amazing. Like the animation is incredible. There's all these different worlds and planets they're going to, and it's like this big, like, wow, like, you know, if you're 6, it's gonna blow your mind. This just looks kind of dull, and I mean, it looks kind of cute, and it just looks fine. But it also looks like, oh, I'll watch that on streaming. I'll wait for that on streaming. My kids will watch that on streaming. Like, it's going to be a bomb. I can see it from here.
Let me just give me 60 seconds on my Pixar pulpit here. I think, dude, I used to ride for Pixar, dog. There was a time when Pixar was like the King Midas of animated films, right? Every single one they did was great. And part of what was so charming is it just felt like a Pixar movie could only be told in a computer animated world. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do a Broadway play of Toy Story, and you can't do a live action version of, I was just reading they might do a live action version of Cars, which sounds nuts, but like, you can't do a live action version of Cars. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that only work in these kind of thoughtful spaces. And Pixar's kind of moved away from that as they've evolved, and they've moved to things that are a little bit more, I don't know, independent, and they're working with a lot of new young talent, and it takes a couple years to approve a project, to get the animation started, to start storyboarding, putting on, like, it takes years to make a Pixar movie. So they started working on Hoppers a couple years ago. So it's not like they're just not going to release it. But man, they really need a dub. You know what I mean? Like, I could really use a Pixar W right now, and this just doesn't look like it's going to be it. And it just seems like Toy Story 5 is going to make quadruple what this movie makes, and Pixar is just going to be relegated to sequel studio forever. But
sequel
I hope
jail.
that's not true. It just seems like all the gas Pixar used to have is down the street at Sony Pictures Animation, where they're making Spider-Verse and K-pop Demon Hunters, or it's down the street at DreamWorks, where they're making that rad Puss in Boots movie, right? That had the cool animation that everybody liked. Like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. That's my Pixar spiel. What's next, Andy?
How to Make a Killing. So this is a new trailer, just came out today or yesterday. It's a crime comedy starring Glenn Powell and the great Margaret Qualley. Glenn Powell plays a man disowned by an incredibly wealthy family at birth. Eventually realizes he's like, 10th in line for this big inheritance, and devises a scheme to off several members of the family so that he can get like the whole multi-billion dollar inheritance. So he's a schemer. He's a con man. Margaret Qualley is involved in this somehow. Ed Harris is as well. This looks great. This looks like a lot of fun. This is coming out in the spring, February 2026. This looks. I love how this looks. Glenn Powell, like he is definitely trying to be like a movie star, and not just a celebrity. This looks great, but it also looks like the kind of movie people just don't really go to anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, it reminds me a little of the plot of No Other Choice, right? That South Korean film that we haven't been able to see yet from Neon. It's a bit of a story about capitalism. It's a guy who realizes he stands to gain much by offing other people, right? And he just decides to kind of do it. And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, and it's a bit funny. It's not just straight dark drama or anything. It definitely looks a bit low-key, just like kind of one of those features. Like, it does not look like a high-profile Running Man or anything like that. It's an A24 feature. But yeah, I'm glad to see Powell working with A24. I think that's a great spot for him to get in. Why not? Show he can work over there too. Love seeing Margaret Qualley. Love seeing Glenn Powell play dress-up, which it seems to be he's doing more of. You know what I mean? He's going to be wearing goofy costumes. Maybe a couple. Maybe not many, but even still, like... Yeah, why not? How to Make a Killing. I hope it's good. I hope it's one of those good A24 features. There was a time when A24 put out mostly only good features. Now they just put out some good features, and that's okay. So yeah, How to Make a Killing. One more to talk about. I'm going to talk about the trailer for Dead Man's Wire. So this came out a couple days ago. This is the new Gus Van Sant movie. Gus Van Sant, who did My Own Private Idaho and Good Will Hunting, Last Days. He has not made a movie in a little while. So I wanted to just bring this one up because I thought, hey, why not mention that he's doing something? Maybe it'll be cool. Dead Man's Wire tells the true story of, I forget the guy's name, a man played by Bill Skarsgård, right, out of his Pennywise outfit into kind of a seedy, sweaty, short haircut, glasses wearing man who's got a gun and is going to kidnap his mortgage lender at his bank, played by Dacker Montgomery. who's a blonde-haired bully named Billy from Stranger Things. I think his name's Billy. And he is a short-haired mortgage broker man who is kidnapped by our Bill Skarsgård lead and is taken back to his home where he's connected to what's called a dead man's wire, a wire that's hooked up to a shotgun. And if he pulls or goes in any direction or anything happens, shotgun goes off, our man dies. And we have a boiler pot thriller where our lead, Bill Skarsgård, is just trying to negotiate for his mortgage and an apology and his freedom, while the cops and a local radio host played by Coleman Domingo slowly creep into his life and the situation. What do you think of the trailer for Dead Man's Wire?
Yeah, this looks interesting. Reminds me a little bit of Dog Day Afternoon. Actually, a little bit of that, like everyday man versus the world situation, because it probably doesn't end well. I'm not going to look up what happened because it's based on real life story. It's interesting. Again, he calls like the DJ station, and Al Pacino's in this, and he's got a great scene where the man just wants an apology from the mortgage station, just like admit that you did me wrong, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to admit. And he's like, hang in there, son, you can do it. So again, it's like reminds me a little bit of Black Klansman. It's a comedy, a dramedy. There's economic implications. This comes out in January, so it's part of that January kind of where you dump films. It looks interesting though. I'll definitely see it.
Yeah. It'll be something. Two more segments to talk about because we still got to talk about Train Dreams. I want to talk about a little television, a little bit of TV, huh? TV corner. What have you been watching, Andy? You've been on it. I've been falling behind, but I've caught up on a couple shows, so I'm looking forward to talking about them.
Right, so a couple of announcements, and then I'll get into the show. The Chair Company and I Love LA have both been renewed for a second season, along with there were some other announcements. House of the Dragon's going to get a third and fourth season, but they're going to be a year apart. The Hedge Knight, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, rather, is going to also get a second season. So some TV announcements, but I wanted to go through what I've been watching, which is a lot of TV, and just kind of give a few thoughts. The Chair Company, episodes 1 through 7 are out. It's got one more left. I'm loving this show. It's so funny. Every episode I'm laughing multiple times out loud. It's just so absurd, but also not, because like you relate to a lot of what's going on, particularly the office politics, which there's three main plot points. There's the stuff going off at Ron Trosper's office. There's him trying to unearth his conspiracy of the Chair Company. And then he's also got some home drama, and it all kind of weaves together. Very funny. Really loving that. I Love LA. I was a little cold on this in the first two episodes. I've seen the first 4, and it's really found its stride. Episodes 3 and 4 are a lot better than the first 2. It's really funny, and I can tell. I was like, okay, this is what the show is about. And the first 2 episodes were just clunky getting to what is essentially our premise, which is Rachel Sennett being the manager of this influencer played by Odessa Asian named Tallulah, and just navigating what life in LA is and how you navigate relationships with famous people and non-famous people and people that are semi-famous, and how people get treated based on where they are in this cast of things. Now that we're getting into the meat of it, I'm like, oh, this is very timely and very of the moment. There's a great scene where one influencer meets another, and they're like, oh, let's shoot a TikTok. And they go in this room, and there's like an entire studio. Like, it's not just an improvised thing. And she ends up torturing this girl, like, no, let's do it again. No, let's do it. She's in there for an hour doing 50 different versions of a TikTok. So really insightful, and it's really found its stride. So I'm glad that show has turned around a little bit. Moving on, Pluribus, first 4 episodes are out. Really enjoying this as well. Great sci-fi from Vince Gilligan. Also darkly funny, and it's great sci-fi, and it's not about big action. It's about big questions with our hero Carol Sturka trying to not overthrow, but recover from this hive mind. It's a sci-fi thing. Every episode has been better than the one before. I'm loving this show. I think there's 9 episodes total. And then finally, Welcome to Derry. The first 5 episodes are now out. Just 3 episodes left, I think, in that. This show has been real up and down. There are parts of it that I like, and then parts that I don't. Like the kid stuff, sometimes it works. The scares don't work. I think there's some real bad CGI that is kind of ruining the show. What's interesting to me is there's this military subplot involving Dick Halloran of the Shining fame, and they're essentially looking for Pennywise or where he crash landed eons ago. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in the adult stuff. The kid stuff is a lot less interesting to me. Some people are liking the show. Some people are kind of hating it. So your results may vary.
Definitely an impressive rundown on television. I don't know how you keep up with all of these shows. Like I have mostly caught up with Share Company. I think I'm an episode or two behind, and I am consistently impressed at how absurd that show manages to get. Every time I think Ron Trosper is maybe like, I don't know, curbing into normalcy, or like, oh good, he's going to calm down from this absurd thing he's been doing. He stumbles backwards into a room full of people who are even more absurd than he is. Like, and just this like cycle or whirlpool of absolute nonsense that's happening in the middle of Chair Company is somehow compelling enough to keep me coming back week over week. So I'm a little surprised it got signed for season 2, only because I don't know how you can keep going, how you can go deeper than where it's already going, but we'll see. I don't even know if season 2 will follow up with Ron, but meanwhile, I love LA. Getting a confident season 2 renewal is good. And I'm caught up on Pluribus, which I really like. Pluribus is a lot of fun. I love seeing people online say that it's like too slow and nothing happens, because all of these people haven't gone back and rewatched Breaking Bad. Because when you go back and rewatch Bad, you're like, this show is the slowest show in the whole world. Like somehow you remember the action, all that slow stuff sets you up for like incredibly memorable sequences of violence and awe. Same with Better Call Saul. Like Pluribus, I think, is a lot in that same space. It's really quiet and real slow. It's a lot of silence, and there's a lot of long segments of no dialogue, and all of that is drama and intentional and set up. It's very, very peculiar. I guess I say all this to say, Andy, what would you recommend out of these, and what wouldn't you recommend? What do you got? Chair Company, I Love LA, Pluribus, Welcome to Derry. Are you sticking with them? Are you bailing? Tell the good people at home what's worth their time.
I definitely recommend the Chair Company. I've loved every episode, and it's ending soon. Just one episode left. It's been renewed for season 2. I'm looking forward to it, and more Tim Robinson. Love his style of comedy. I Love LA started a little clunky, a little cold. It's really warmed up over the last couple of episodes. I think it's hit its stride, and I'm looking forward to the next 4. It's only a half hour. I think it's worth checking out. Pluribus might be the best show of the year. We'll see when the year's up. When I make my big list, every episode is better than the one before. And again, it's a very adult show. It's about big questions, not easy answers about how we live our lives. It's very relevant to today. Welcome to Derry is probably the one that I would recommend to like hardcore Stephen King fans or horror fans. If you're a big fan of the It movies. If you're a casual viewer, it may not be for you, because there's a lot of lore, there's a lot of backstory, and then just some of it just doesn't look good. Some of the plots aren't really going anywhere. We do finally get to see Pennywise in episode 5. They've been teasing him all season, so that was nice. But that one's the most kind of like, maybe not.
All right. If I got to shake off one of these, you're saying I might skip Derry. You'd rather I check out I Love LA?
Yeah, I think so. It's also only a half hour. Welcome to Derry is 45 minutes to an hour episode, so it's a bigger commitment.
Yeah, right. Did Derry get a season 2 yet? Is that confirmed?
I think so.
Probably. Not a cheap show. I bet they're using those sets for a couple seasons for sure. Like that makes sense.
They're aiming for seasons because in the It lore, every 27 years is when It comes out, and so they're going to do 2 more time periods. That's the idea. I think so. Season 2, I think, is greenlit, and they'll see whether or not they get a third.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of stepping back into the past, we got to talk about this last movie on the pod. I'm really looking forward to talking about Train Dreams. We'll be quick. I know it's going to be a long episode. You all got stuff to do. So do we. So we'll move through this efficiently. But this is a Netflix indie that not a lot of people had heard about. I hadn't either. It got some early festival buzz. I know it ran at Sundance this year. But otherwise, it's been kind of quiet. And now it's here on Netflix. And suddenly people are saying it might get an Oscar. And Joel Edgerton deserves a nom for Best Actor. And like big claims coming out of a Netflix indie. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Train Dreams. So, Train Dreams is the story of Robert Grainier, who is a logger and a railroad worker who leads a life of simplicity and kind of unexpected depth in the early 20th century of the rapid turn of technology and society in America. He is a simple living man played by Joel Edgerton. He is a logger. He travels to work, comes home, visits his family with a wife played by Felicity Jones. And that's kind of the movie. And we're with Robert through kind of his whole life. It is a 100-minute feature, so getting through an entire life in just under 2 hours is a challenge. It's achieved kind of phenomenally by director Clint Bentley. He formerly worked on Sing Sing, and then a movie before that called Jockey, which he actually directed. He didn't direct Sing Sing, but here he is working on Train Dreams. Train Dreams is kind of phenomenal because it is soulful and it is inspiring and it is quietly devastating. It is a movie that is often kind of sad and dour, but ultimately is designed to stir emotion in its audience and to kind of drive you to feel a certain way about your life and the time you spend in it. It is similar to something I think in tone like It's a Wonderful Life, the story of George Bailey, a man who has lived too passively and has maybe let the world pass him by a little bit. Similar even to I Saw the TV Glow, somebody who lives a life of maybe missed opportunity. And through Robert Grainier and through kind of this really stunning performance by Edgerton, we get to see the beauty and wonder of the world in the early 1900s. Let's talk about Train Dreams. Andy, what'd you think?
So I was really into this for about the first hour, and then I kind of struggled with the last 20, 30 minutes. But I really love the kind of the first half of the idea of this man. It very Terrence Malick like, where you have lots of the camera looking up through the trees, and there's a great shot of a camera strapped to a tree as it's being cut over, so you fall as the tree falls. It's a brilliant shot, and it's about a man who's very to himself, very stoic, and you kind of see the blood of progress as they're building these railroads. People die, construction workers die. There's racism. There's kind of Wild West style violence of people, because the logging business attracts a certain kind of lonely men without families, men without homes, men without money, and so you get a lot of kind of ex-cons, and it's a strange environment to be around because Robert Grainier is not like that. He's just a man kind of from the area. It's very much about the passage of time, the passage of progress, what it means to be part of the world, and then seemingly see it start passing you by as technology comes. And then he eventually meets Felicity Jones' character at church, falls in love with her. They start a family. A lot of this remind me of The Brutalist in a lot of ways. It's very much about the American dream versus the American reality, that kind of thing. It takes a turn about halfway through the film and has a different direction, and that's where it lost me a little bit. I love the beginning, and I love the America, what we are, what we think we are, and the cost of progress, the blood of progress, all that stuff really worked well. And then it goes in a different direction, and I just couldn't go along with it. But that seems to be just me. Most people are loving this.
Yeah, it's a really interesting presentation, Train Dreams. The aspect ratio is real tall. It's 1.5 by 1, which is almost like full screen, right? It's almost square. It's similar to The Lighthouse. And initially, I'd read people criticizing Netflix for saying that's why that's almost the perfect aspect ratio of an iPad. It's like Netflix wants people watching stuff, but it's not that, actually. Director Clint Bentley says they shot it that way so you get the tallness of the trees. That's a big part of it, man. The outdoors is such a huge part of Train Dreams. Much of the advertising you'll see from it, the footage we're running online from the trailer right now, it's almost all outdoor stuff. Robert Grainier lives a life of essentially the outdoors. Even going inside of a house is just kind of a cabin with slits in the walls and stuff. You're kind of always camping, and having to travel out to this deep woods and deep wilderness for work, to do all this logging work and then come back home takes a toll on him. And as that time passes, he begins to feel like life is passing him by, his wife and a young daughter at home, and they're growing, and his daughter is getting older, and he's growing to not know her, and that stuff is a real challenge through the first bit. But you get some really great work from Joel Edgerton. William H. Macy has a very small part in this movie that is very profound. It is a great small role, no small parts. William H. Macy understands that really well. It's kind of an older logger who departs some wisdom on Robert. Felicity Jones is a lot of fun in this movie. Kerry Condon is in this movie later in the film. Man, there's no good way to get around it. She should not do a lot of roles with American accents. It just doesn't come over that good. Like, you can hear her accent slipping. I love Kerry Condon. She's very good in this movie. I like her character in this movie. I like her fine. I love Kerry Condon. But she's got such a rich accent. Just go with the one you got, girl. Like, don't like whoever's hiring her to do Americans, give her a break. Just let her do the accent she's got. She's a great actress. It's fine. But otherwise, like, everybody in this is really great. But you're right. Like, through a lot of the last half of the movie, it's a lot of Grainier essentially alone. He is a very quiet individual and he keeps to himself. So it's a lot of him out in the woods, him looking at the sky, him thinking about life. Very Terrence Malick presentation, like you said, which is amazing because it was like a 29-day shoot. And like a lot of it is outside. It is mostly natural light. The bonfire scenes are just fire. Like, it is super dark. Like, you get these really rich colors over like just a really fast digital shoot. We're just hitting it real quick. And like, I don't know. Yeah, you end up with something that feels very prescient and very profound.
Yeah, like I love the profession's an interesting thing. This thing of being a logger, because you think it is a very old school thing that is always kind of going to be that way. But there's a weird mix of people where he's not a young man, but he's not an old man yet. But he's working with men who are much older, who are running from things and have different kind of experiences, along with people who are completely green and they've only been doing this a couple of years. And there's a great conversation with William H. Macy where, one of the young guys is like, I've seen how many trees there are between here and wherever, and we could chop 1,000 years and never run out. And William H. Macy's like, well, I used to think that too. And so there's this whole thing about our relationship to nature. And again, the blood of progress and the cost of it, the personal cost and the cost to our society to do, something as devastating as deforesting big places like that. So just some fascinating, musings on things like time and progress. And I was really into that. And like I said, there's not as much of that in the second part of the film. And that's a little bit where I got lost.
Yeah, I should say it's based on a novella. Should have opened with that, by Denis Johnson, which I have not read. But as I understand it, in Johnson's novel, Robert Grainier is a little bit more complicit in kind of the world around him. You see a little bit of that early in the movie. He's working with some, I think, Chinese immigrants on the rail line, in the early 1900s, and a couple of them get like carted away, and he doesn't really make an effort to stop them, and that kind of bothers him throughout the rest of the film. Here, he's a bit softer, as I understand it, and that I think comes directly from director Clint Bentley, who said that he wanted Grainier to feel like, our parents' parents, so your grandfather's grandfather, who probably lived through a time when like life was much simpler, and they maybe had a lot of questions about how the world worked, but they lived a full and great life anyway. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're like just a logger in the woods, like, life is beautiful and worth living. And I think that's what makes this movie so inspired. That's what I think really makes people stand out. It's just, I don't know. It's a lot of beautiful imagery and it's a lot of thoughtful meditations on a life well lived. Also with narration by William Patton, who does not appear in the film, but it's great. Bentley described him in a podcast like he wanted to sound like somebody you just hear like talking at a bar in the early 1900s. If you just walked in and sat down next to a man, he'd be like, "Let me tell you about Robert Grainier, and let me tell you about his life." And like that's just kind of the setting for this really existential, heady piece on time and time passing you by and how you're spending it and whether or not you're living your life to your fullest or you just kind of letting it go.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the cinematography and like this movie is so beautifully shot. As soon as it started, I thought this is going to be great. This is going to be great because I could tell this one of those things where the director is taken time to really think about what do I want to shoot. And there's these, just a lot of great shots in nature, but it starts with this one where you're inside like a train tunnel and you're exiting and it's, it's completely dark except for where the tunnel lets out. And it was just such an incredibly well-composed shot. And you get tons of that throughout the film. And I was like, I'm in for something special visually because of the care taking on just our opening 5 minutes. And sometimes a movie is like that. I remember Blade Runner 2049 has an incredible opening shot, and I was like, pure cinema, like the hands up. And this has a lot of that too. Very, very beautifully shot.
Really great music as well from Bryce Dessner, who I don't know what else Bryce has done. And I'll find out in just a second. The Revenant. Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing The Revenant in theaters. Yeah. And really great performance from Edgerton. Like, just want to reiterate that. I know people have been talking about maybe some kind of awards buzz for him. He's just locked in, man. Like, telling the story of a life is complicated, especially with like large jumps in time. But like, he just seems to be exactly tapped in on how Robert feels on the day by the hour. Like, whether or not he's sad or he's gleeful or feeling like inspired by something. Like, and it's not a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of subtle stuff. And he's just got like that weathered kind of look. My man, like, is period appropriate. Like, it's really great work. It might be my new favorite performance from Edgerton. Like, he's really doing something special in here.
Yeah, he's great. I think I think he's going to be in the conversation for, Oscars. William H. Macy, especially, like, it's one of those things where he's not in the movie for very long, but he's so impactful with his role as Arn Peebles, this kind of veteran of the logging game, and tragically, at least so. So Edgerton. Again, it's a lot of he doesn't say much, he doesn't talk much. It's more about how he holds himself, how he thinks about the world, and this incredible loneliness. Because even though he has a family, he's away from them so long. Because he's got to go logging. That's how he's paying for, to raise his family. So he has to be gone from them for so long. So there's this innate loneliness in his entire life.
Yeah. We got to wrap this up. We got to talk about recommendations. Any other thoughts, recommendations, Andy?
I'm ready.
Would you recommend Train Dreams on Netflix?
Yeah, I would. It's a quick 100 minutes. But it is this very slow, beautiful, philosophical look at the American dream, the American reality, the cost of progress, whether it's nature, whether it's family, whether it's personal health, these kinds of things. Incredible performances from Felicity Jones and Joel Edgerton, and of course the great William H. Macy. So highly recommend. For me, I kind of petered out the last 20 minutes, but I think other people will probably enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm even warmer than Andy on Train Dreams. I absolutely recommend. This movie is really cool. And I think maybe something special. Like, it is genuinely tugging at heartstrings. It's emotional. It's moving. It's soulful. It's devastating. If you like The Brutalist, check out Train Dreams. If you like It's a Wonderful Life, I saw the TV Glow. Even, honestly, I just played through Red Dead Redemption 2. It's got echoes of Arthur Morgan's story. If you're a Red Dead 2 fan, I think Train Dreams is worth your time. Like, there's something really special here. This is a Netflix winner for sure. And it's a rare sight for Netflix. So way to go. Shout out Clint Bentley. I can't wait to see what he does next. Check out Train Dreams. What a week. Good God, we've done a long episode. Andy, what are we watching next week?
We're going to be taking a look at Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. This is the third film in the Knives Out Whodunit trilogy by Rian Johnson. This is going to be in theaters very briefly, only maybe a week or two starting this. I think it's out tomorrow, the 26th, but definitely this Friday. It will be on Netflix on December 12th, so it's just a very short, limited run. Then we're also going to be taking a look at Rental Family, which actually came out last week. This is the Brendan Fraser comedy drama where he plays an actor who has to go to Japan to play people's parents for a job. Don't know too much about it. Hasn't been seen too much, but I've heard he's really good in it. So that's the other theatrical release we'll be looking at.
If
some FYI,
FYI.
Sorry. FYI releases. Zootopia 2 is coming out this week. That's going to be the big thing of this week. It's going to make $500 million this weekend. Massive. Take the kids. I'm sure they'll love it. And also the rom-com Eternity, starring Elizabeth Olsen and two guys that I can't remember.
Miles Teller and Callum Turner. Got him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is also out for something maybe a little bit more adult as well. But Wake Up Dead Man and Rental Family for next week.
If you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we're doing here on Oscar Film Review, best way to support us, just like or subscribe or comment, whatever, what they say to do at the end of all these things. It genuinely helps though, really. I wouldn't say it at the end of every episode if it didn't actually help, I swear. So throw some engagement on us, man. Like, throw a like or click a video you haven't watched in a while and let it go for a minute. Put us on while you sleep and just put it on mute and let the channel run all night. I'm sure that'll be fine. That won't mess up your algorithm at all. And, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Check out the YouTube page where we got new reviews going up all the time. Big stuff happening over there. Audio listeners, if you want to just listen to the show on your morning run or walk or drive or whatever, you can check us out on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, iHeartMedia. You can check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can email us correspondence direct from you to us at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. From all of us at Offscript, the home of Bold Cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.